enough to genuinely smile. I'll open my arms if I can. I'm strong enough to show and say who I Controlling thoughts, controlling words have tried to shut my song. One day I looked inside my heart and found something I knew all along. I'm strong. I'm strong. I am
Please join us on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Our Worlds with Elizabeth Rose here on the Hazy Radio Network.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I don't know how to talk like a parent. Don't make me come back there. You see what I mean? It's pretty awful. Try it again. Don't make me come back there. Now that's pretty good. That one kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Broader View on the Hazy Radio Network. You can participate by calling 651-447-6309. That's 651-447-6309. Now, back to Hazy and Bell.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to The Broader View and the second half of our show. We're bringing on, we have with us, I should say, my very beautiful friend, Coryelle Kramer. Coryelle is a professional psychic, an animal educator and medium, and also works with flower essences. And I have to attest to the benefits of flower essences because she worked with me with my dog who had an issue with nipping at the grandbabies. And after a brief conversation with our dog, she recommended an essence blend for us, sent it out to us, and I mean within 24 hours there was a big difference in our dog. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. But Coryelle has been on TV and, of course, radio, and we're so proud. She is a columnist of Bell Magazine with 2 monthly columns that she writes. One is called Ask Your Animals. So if you have a question you would like to ask your animal, you can write in to Coryelle, and that response will be in the next issue of Bell Esprit Magazine. And she also does a column called Flower Power, and she talks about various flower essences and their benefits. So welcome, Coryelle, to The Broader View.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
We're glad to have you here. I know I am.
Nice.
Welcome to the show.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
So I want to just kind of do a little bit of history here with you. You've always been a psychic and medium, correct?
I've always been a psychic and a medium and an animal communicator since I was a kid. Yes.
Okay, so that's what I was getting at. Is, how did you realize that you were able to talk to the animals?
Well, for the animal part, I was always able to talk to them. I just knew. I knew what they were feeling because I'm also empathic. So I get a sense for the person or the animal and how they're feeling health-wise. So I would always the dog's tummy isn't feeling well, or the cat, doesn't, his paw hurts, or my mom was always telling me stories about, telling stories about that. So I was always getting stuff from the animals, and I could just hear them in my head. I could hear them talking to me like I'm talking to you right now. And I could hear their answers, and sometimes their answers would kind of like a psychic medium does. The psychic medium, sometimes you hear the person's voice, but you also get images, you get feelings, you get thoughts, you get the whole 9 yards coming in. And it was the same thing for me with animals. So I was always drawn to animals. I've always loved them, but I could always get a for what they were saying as well. And I just couldn't really, until I was later on in life, I couldn't really put it into words. It would just be like, I just would know. And maybe if the animal was having a problem, I would go over to them. And at a very early age, I was also a healer. So I would lay hands on the animal as well. We're talking years ago, I'm not going to say how many years, but we're talking years ago. So, people didn't quite know what exactly I was doing like somebody would today. If somebody saw their kid laying their hands on the animals, they would get the sense maybe today that, the kid was helping the animal. My mom was extremely supportive, extremely loving, and always my biggest supporter and my biggest fan. So she was always encouraging me and asking me, what are you getting? How are you feeling? So I was always able to, have that. I never really lost it until, later on in life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
And so you've been working with animals all your life, but professionally, when did you, Spirit keeps wanting to say, when did you come out of the closet, Corielle?
Right.
But so you've been doing this professionally for 15 years?
Yeah, since professionally, I've been doing it since 2000. Unprofessionally, I tell people I've been doing it since I was a kid. So
yeah, absolutely.
what it was that I just... I was doing other things in life. I was a female computer technician for 17 years. And then in 2000, I lost my job. I mean, I didn't lose it because I knew exactly where it went. But, the job that I had was no longer available. And it was actually, for me, the best thing that could ever possibly happen because it made me reassess my life. And just reconnect with my animal communication skills, my healing skills, my psychic medium skills, the whole 9 yards just started flowing through again.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to share with the public about communicating with animals, and I did not realize this until I started working with the edit of your articles for the magazine, is that you made a note that said, do not change any of the wording.
Really? Interesting.
In this, part. And it's because she's giving the information exactly as the animal speaks.
That's right. That's right. I
might misuse a word, or they might not use the best grammar, but that's their voice. And that was hard for me, Corielle, because I just want to fix it,
I understand, as being the editor of Bill Esprit, I'm sure I challenged you a bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to... I felt like it was really, really important to try to stay as pure to the communication as I possibly could. It helps to get a sense for the animal's personality. Like if I try to clean up the sentence or the communication I'm getting, you might not get that the animal has got like, and I know this sounds weird, but some animals have accents, just like some people have accents. So, if I cleaned up and made it sound like it was coming out of my mouth, you wouldn't get a sense that the animal has maybe a Brooklyn accent or a Scottish accent or an English accent or a Norwegian accent or something else like that there. The inflections that I get, I try to stay as pure as I possibly can and just write it down however I'm getting, because that way I feel like I'm staying true to the communication and true to the animal themselves.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And when I first started, and I've worked with this, not as much as you have, because I don't profess to be an animal communicator, but when I would work with animals, their sentences would come short and quick. They weren't, long-winded. They were short and quick, and not, as you said, not always using the best grammar or whatnot. And I would, certainly go with what you were saying to me, but it just flows for you. It's just the responses. And I'll tell you, folks, if you have not had the opportunity to read some of Coryelle's animal messages in her column,
wonderful.
Go to her page on Bella Spree magazine. Click on I forget what we even call the tab, Our Team, and go down to columnists and contributors and find Coryelle's name and click on her page. And that we have listed all of her articles that she's written for Bella Spree. And just read some of the responses that she's received from these animals that she has worked with. And you can just feel their energy in what you've written.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, especially with the first column I did, what I started to do was called a column called The Animal Mind. That's the original column that I started with at Bella Spree. And the whole premise around that was giving the voice to the animals. So I would pick a wild animal, or I would pick just an animal in general. I would have people send me in their pictures, and I would ask that animal what wisdom they wanted to share with us. And it would just flow. It would just come however it came. And sometimes, yes, you're absolutely right. It comes very straight to the point, because there are some animals, especially when I connect to wild animals, they don't get into the fluff. They don't get into the niceties. They get into pure and total truth, and pure and total. They don't try to, be politically correct. So sometimes it's short, straight to the point, what I like to call short and sweet. And sometimes the animals are almost, they're like us, some of us anyway, when we speak, it's almost like poetry. So I never know what I'm going to get. I'm always surprised at how they get their messages through and how they get their messages across. And I'm never, ever, ever, ever bored.
So now, if someone wanted to contact you, let's say for your column, if they want to ask their pet a question, what do they need to do?
All the directions are on the Bella Spree website, and under every single column that I did. But what they would do is they would send me an email to Coryelle@bellaspree.com. And